So we've examined some of the basic setup of the hair, just getting it assigned to the head or the scalp area like we have here, and also adjusting the clumps and the way that we can play around with the basic dynamic systems which are in the scene and assigned to that hair system, just to get some movement into the hair and just give us some basic animation into the scene as well. And if I go to the NSolver interactive playback, we can see that in action. So we've pretty much covered those areas now, but what we want to do next is maybe go a step further and look at how we can sculpt the hair a little bit more, pose the hair a little bit more, and start to play around with the base curves, and these are the curves which are driving each hair. So let's stop this and go back to the beginning. Now as you see, every time we restart this, we've got this spiky hairstyle, which is something you may want, but this is because the hair system is running off a start position. If I go to NHair here, let's open this menu, go to Display, Start Position, we can see these NURBS curves here. And these are dictating this start position. Now as you can see, the red follicles here are the main dynamic ones we created, and they've got the curves which are driving the hair from those follicles. The blue ones are the passive ones, so they're just going to copy what's happening around them. So they don't have their own curves at the moment, but they will have shortly. So let's go back to our display menu. Let's just tear that off, like so. So let's display current and start. Let's go back to our NSolver, interactive playback. So let's say we get to a position where we're happy with the hair, and we maybe want it to start from that pose rather than the spiky hair. All we do is go to NHair, set start position from current. Select the hair first, sorry. And there we go. The curves have snapped to the current position of the hair. And again, this looks quite angular, but remember, we're just looking at a low resolution version of the hair just while we're playing around with it and getting used to how it's working. So now if you go back to the beginning, you'll see it doesn't start from the spiky hairdo. Go back to NSolver, interactive playback. And there the hair, the dynamics is taking over from that start position and making the hair move. If I just go up here to start position, we can see those curves it's created, and it's also added ones in for the passive hair as well, for the passive follicles as well. Yep, we have some interaction where the curves are going through the head, but we're not worried about that just yet. We'll look at avoiding that later on when we look into adding in collisions. So as well as dictating a start position, you can create a rest position. So you end up with a position you want to start from and a position you ideally want to get to. So you can create one of those in pretty much the same way. So let's go back to current and start. Go back to our first frame. Now let's say we've got our curves, we've created our start position, but maybe some of these are a little bit too long, maybe some are too short. So how do we adjust these? Well, we can't go into NHair Scale Hair tool because that will do all the hair. But what we can do is, remember, these are NURBS curves, and we've got a lot of freedom with them. We can just treat them like individual NURBS curves. So as you saw there, control vertex, say we want the hair this short like so, we just delete them and the hair will update automatically. So we've created shorter hair there. Perhaps we want this one to be a little shorter. Select the points, delete, like so. And we can go around, and maybe your start position is the hair just relaxed, rested on her shoulders. You can then go around and trim and give her a fringe. You can also repose these. So if we wanted the hair to go around her ear, so maybe she's got her hair tucked behind the ear, you just go in from your start position and just sculpt the hair. So you're styling it, going behind her ear, maybe give her a fringe or anything like that. You select the points, you go in, like so. And as you can see, the hair is updating with it. Now, if you're not at the first frame, like so, you see the hair, once the dynamics takes over, the hair comes away from the curves. And then it won't update. So you have, if you're going to update it, you have to go back to your start position, and then you'll see it's actually updating in the scene. So that's just introducing you to those base curves and showing you quickly how you can cut the hair, and you can set your start position, and then you can sculpt the hair to get it into the pose that you want. I mean, you don't always need to have the dynamics running. If this is just an illustration, so it's a static pose, you could use the dynamics so the hair falls onto the head, gets the main pose that you want, and then you can go in and adjust the curves like so, just to get the exact shape that you need. And there are other options available to us with the curves. We go to end hair here. Obviously we have our set start position, set rest position, which we've talked about. You can also modify the curves here. Now obviously lock length, unlock length, so the curve won't stretch or shrink. Straighten, smooth, curl, bend, these all will edit the curve. So if you've gone in, and like this curve here, it's got quite a lot of points on it, so it's maybe a bit angular in parts. We could go in and maybe open up the smooth options, click apply, and you see that has smoothed out that for us. Maybe this one needs smoothing as well, click apply, and that has softened the flow of that clump as well. So let's look at some of the other options. Straighten, let's just click on that. And obviously that has just come straight out of the head. Curl. Maybe we should open the options on that one, that's gone a bit wild. So here we go, curl amount, curl frequency. Let's create that, although we haven't got any history. But you get the idea. Curl amount, let's drop that to maybe 0.1, curl frequency, 0.2 as well, click apply. Maybe that's a bit too low, but this will just give a curl to the hair. There we go, we're starting to get that curl. Maybe up that to 0.1, apply. And there, we're curling the hair, so let's drop that back down to 1. As you can see, it's just about tinkering with the values depending on how your scene scale is set up. Maybe drop that down to 2.5. And then maybe we want the curls tighter, so let's ramp that up to 3. There we go. Obviously, it's looking a bit angular, but again, this is because we're just doing a rough preview. But you've got these options in here as well. So if you've been editing it and it's looking a bit angular, you could go in and quickly smooth it. Or curl it if you want the hair curly. So let's close those down. So that's just an introduction to the curves, how you can edit the curves, and how you can use those to help sculpt the hair. Let's open up our attributes now. Like so. So as we did previously, if we go to the hair system, we went through and we edited our clump and hair shape in here. We also added a bit of dynamics and turbulence to the hair. But rather than editing the hair globally, you can also go in and edit each clump individually. If I just focus on one for now. Let's select this hair here. Well, let's select one is actually dynamic. Right, let's go in. It's just dynamic follicles only. So that'll just strip out a few of those so we can just focus on some. So there's one with a red follicle, so we know that's a main one. Now we have our curve shapes here. There's nothing fancy about those, but we can go into our scalp follicle shape here. Now we're just going to miss these. We're just going to go straight down, dynamic overrides. If we enable that, as you can see, this has gone thinner. And what this is doing is saying, right, this clump is going to run off its own set of settings. It's not going to copy what the rest of the hair is going to do. So you have various options in here, just like we did with the hair system shape. Clump width and scale, just like before. You can adjust things with the graph. Start curve attract, attract scale, and obviously render overrides, which we'll look at later. Now sometimes you need to go in and just switch some of these menus just so those settings update. You can try interactive playback. Let's see if it's going to play today. You see, it's not really updating. So we've got a wider clump at the end, thinner clump in the middle, but it's not updated really. So let's stop that, go back to the beginning, maybe go up here and change some of these, and there we go, it's updated. So that's a little bug with that. It doesn't seem to update straight away. You have to go in and just change some of these settings. Another setting down here is you can set that to braid. Now you can't really see it, but what we can do is just turn up our overall settings in our hair system shape, go down to clump and hair shape here, and change our hairs per clump. If we turn that right up, see that's added a lot more hair in. Let's just select that, that's better, but it's still quite angular. So let's also turn up subsegments. As you can see, that's smoothed out the hair. And because we've enabled braid on here, we've got nice braided hair. We could go around to this one here, click on that scalp, turn on braid, and that'll braid that hair there as well. And just go around all of these, turn on braid, and that's given us that nice curly hair there. But the problem is now, because we've turned up these settings, it's not going to simulate properly. If I just click play down here, well, that's not working too badly actually. But I bet if we go back to our hair system, all follicles, there we go, static, click play, right, all follicles, that might be better. You see, it's not really updating. We drop that back down to 10, that back down to 0, click play, and there it's simulating again. So it's the age-old trade-off. Turn up your display settings and your simulation's just not going to work. So what we've looked at in this video is getting down to the base curves, being able to edit each curve individually, define a start pose, and then also cut the hair, be able to sculpt the hair with these curves, and then play around with each clump individually via the scalp follicle, well, the follicle shapes here, just to give each clump a different look if you need it. If you want the hair at the front of the head to be thinner than the hair at the back of the head, then this is an option for you to go in and edit those individually. So now we've pretty much covered the basics of setting up the hair. What I want to do in the next lesson is maybe start looking into adding collisions to help to dictate where your hair goes, what it collides with, and also how you can use collisions to also help play around and edit your hair.